Hello there folks, Kirk and Jason here with Kirk Giordano Plastering. Today what we want to show you guys is how we correct the texture on this mold. Now notice this mold, it had some issues, so the painter came and they put some kind of stucco here, but they just brushed it on because they couldn't figure out how to get this texture. It goes from that point here, and all the way around. What Jason and I did is Jay took the wire brush and first got all the dust and moss off. The second thing we do is we put a bonding agent on it. Now, everybody has a specific choice of what they want. I tend to use a Weldcrete. It's pretty good bonding agents. Never let me down in over 25 years, so I stick with what works, but there are a lot of bonding agents that are the color of Elmer's glue, say white, green, you name it. What we're doing here is we're putting this because the texture won't adhere if we don't. So we're doing this, and I'll show you guys something else. This particular finish, it gave the painter a hard time, and I know why, because you have to really know what you're doing to do this particular finish. He gave it his best shot of like 10 different areas on this house, but I'll show you something. Okay, you see this finish here? First they spread a 1620. I'm going to show you what that stuff is. Then they floated that. After they floated that, they came and they put a texture. So it's a little bit of work to do, and you've really got to have some time in order to do it. Let me show you something over here. I figured I'd bring a bag out because someone's always going to say, man, what's that 1620? See, this is La Habra. La Habra makes color coat materials. They make all kinds of stuff. But now notice here, it says base 100. Oh, that's not what I'm trying to get at. 1620. You see that 1620? That means it's a heavy grit. That's what they used on here. If you were to try to get this is a La Habra, and this is base, or I'm sorry, the 2030. That means it's finer. Then they even have one more bag, which I have in my truck, but I didn't want to carry a 100-pound sack. It's not open. This was heavy enough for me. It's about 60, 70 pounds left in here. But anyway, you got to get the right texture or the right grit if you're going to try to match something. So what I'm going to do here is I've got some color coat material. So we're gonna start by just putting a new texture on it. So what I'll tend to do is I'll come up here, put some on it. In fact, now again, this is just the color coat material from La Habra, and this is what, had the painters known, this is what they would have used. But I'm not criticizing their patch because it gives me something to do. Also, I'm not a great painter myself, so here we go. I am pretty good at this stuff right here. So, and I'll show you how they took it right to about here. That's where I'm going to take it down to. After I get this texture on everything, then I'm going to come back and float it. And floating it is just, we take a green sponge float and bring the aggregate out. So I'll just take it right to here, and rather than, it's going to take me another 5 minutes to spread out the rest of these. So I'm going to tell Jay to turn that camera off, and when I spread the rest of this one and this one, I'll come back and show you how we do the texture. All right guys, I am finished spreading these out. Now what I'm going to do is a lot of things to consider too. I mean, this is such a simple fix. Right here is a float bucket. I'm going to float this because their base coat, that's what they originally did. They floated it. I mean, they took a green sponge float, and this is called floating it. And what I'm doing is I'm bringing the aggregate out, bringing the sand out, giving it that sand finish. That's the base coat. Base coat has got that sand finish. And because it's kind of a cold morning, and I just put Weldcrete on here, and yes, you can put it on directly while the Weldcrete is tacky. You can let the Weldcrete sit a day or 2 or 3, however you want to do it. But the bottom line is, on something like this, is in order for me to match the texture now, I'm pretty good at texture matching, but this is too wet for me to texture. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go on to other things, and I'm going to give this about 15 minutes. Normally, I'd have to give it about an hour, but the camera won't show this, and I'll explain it. I put luminite in this stuff. Luminite is an accelerator. That's what turned this white color I used to this tan. So, and what I'm trying to do is accelerate this drying time so that we're not so-called watching paint dry. No fun. So in about 15 minutes, this will be ready. This base coat has got to cure in order for me to match this particular texture. I know this. I've seen textures where it's on wet or it's on a dry finish, so I already know that. Okay guys, we've given this about 15 minutes. I'll show you how we do this texture. Generally what I like to do is start up first. I'll take it right here and just kind of stagger it. This is dry enough where it's still a little wet, but I can make this finish work. We take it up, and then we're going to take it down. Meaning, okay, now that we got that there, we'll take this and skip it. It skips naturally on a dry surface. It won't skip if this is wet. What it'll do is make a drag. That's not pretty. The other fellas already did that drag. We don't want to do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take it to the edge here. Here. And when I come to, because I'm using a swimming pool trowel, when I come to areas such as the very corners, I can reach in my back pocket, grab this guy here and put a little texture here, put a little texture here, anywhere where there's a square corner, like so. Put this back, and now I got to wait just a couple seconds for this to absorb in there, because if I knock it down too soon, then it'll be too flat. So what I want to do is I want to match this finish right here. So I can't knock it down just yet. Check this side here. That's ready to go. All right. So if you are going to knock it down now, you folks trying to do this stuff, you might be able to do it. Possible if you watch it enough. Okay, maybe not. This does take a little bit of time in, guys. You got to know your cements. Like, I'm looking at it and I can see it's not really quite dry, but for the sake of finishing this up, I'll go ahead and lightly hit it. Now my trowel is just going to barely hit it because it's still sort of wet. And I got to match this finish here. So the trowel is I'm just barely holding it off of the texture itself. And I'll take it up now, I'm just barely holding this trowel in my hands. If I hit it too hard, it'll flatten it out and give it a pancake look. And they don't have a pancake look on their original. So there you have it, folks. I'm hitting it a little before you guys should if you're watching this and trying to do this, but I pretty much know what I'm doing. Anyhow, guys, Kirk and Jason here. We thank you folks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. As usual, guys, we'll see you on the next one.